On May 27, 1942, an explosion struck an open-top Mercedes on a street in Prague, bringing the vehicle to a stop. Inside was Reinhard Heydrich, one of the most feared and influential men in Nazi Germany. He was not Adolf Hitler or Heinrich Himmler, but he was among the most powerful figures within the SS and the security apparatus of the Third Reich. To many in occupied Czechoslovakia, he was known as the Butcher of Prague. Hitler reportedly referred to him as the man with the iron heart. To historians, he is remembered as one of the principal architects of the Holocaust. Heydrich was young, highly intelligent, and widely regarded as ruthless. A former naval officer, he rose rapidly through the ranks of the SS and helped build its intelligence and police empire. As head of the Reich Main Security Office, he oversaw the Gestapo, the SD, and the coordination of policies that led to mass murder across Europe. This is not just the story of a Nazi official, it is the story of how a modern state turned bureaucracy into an instrument of terror, how ambition fused with ideology, and how one man played a central role in transforming prejudice into policy, and policy into genocide. This is the life of Reinhard Heydrich. Reinhard Tristan Eugen Heydrich was born on March 7, 1904 in Halle, Germany, into a cultured, middle-class family. His father was a composer and opera singer who founded a music conservatory. His mother was a trained pianist. He became a gifted violinist, capable of playing classical works with precision, but his youth was also marked by isolation. Tall, thin, with a high-pitched voice, he was mocked by peers. Rumors spread that he had Jewish ancestry, a cruel irony, given the role he would later play. World War I ended when Heydrich was 14. Germany's defeat and the chaos of the Weimar years shaped his generation, a mix of humiliation, anger, and longing for restored power. In 1922, he joined the German Navy, seeking order and status. He proved intelligent and ambitious, rising to the rank of lieutenant. But in 1931, his career collapsed. Caught in a scandal over a breach of promise to marry, he was dismissed for conduct unbecoming an officer. It was a personal disgrace. Heydrich was 27 and unemployed. That moment of humiliation became a turning point. A crucial influence on Heydrich's path into Nazism was his future wife, Lina von Osten. They met in late 1930, shortly before his dismissal from the Navy. Lina was already a committed Nazi Party supporter, deeply impressed by Hitler's speeches and the promise of national rebirth. Lina offered Heydrich direction and ideology. She later recalled encouraging him to join the SS, seeing it as a movement where his discipline and intelligence could thrive. Their relationship was fast and intense. They married in December 1931. Lina was fiercely loyal to the regime and to her husband's ambitions. As Heydrich rose, she embraced the status and influence that came with it, hosting SS gatherings and reinforcing his sense of destiny. Through family connections, Heydrich was introduced to Heinrich Himmler, the head of the small but growing SS. Himmler needed someone to build an intelligence service. Heydrich arrived at the interview with notes scribbled on paper, ideas for surveillance, informants, and internal security. Himmler was impressed. Within days, Heydrich was hired. Within a year, he created the Sicherheitsdienst, SD, the SS intelligence service, from a tiny nucleus. Heydrich proved relentless. He gathered files on enemies and allies alike, building a web of dossiers that gave the SS enormous leverage within the Nazi movement. Information became leverage. Fear became currency. When Hitler became Chancellor in 1933, Heydrich was perfectly positioned. After the Nazi seizure of power, Heydrich expanded his reach into the state police. He played a key role in running the Gestapo in Prussia on Hermann Göring's behalf, and later, under Heinrich Himmler's authority, in bringing Germany's political police under SS control. Heydrich helped coordinate party intelligence and state policing into an increasingly unified system of repression. He was not a street thug, he was an organizer. Under his direction, political opponents were tracked. Informant networks spread through workplaces and neighborhoods. Files grew thicker as fear spread deeper. In 1934, Heydrich helped organize the Night of the Long Knives, providing the intelligence lists used as Hitler ordered the purge of SA leaders and conservative opponents. The operation cemented SS dominance, and Heydrich's reputation as a man trusted with the regime's darkest tasks. By 1936, when Himmler became chief of all German police, Heydrich oversaw the security police, and in practice directed much of their day-to-day work. Germany was becoming a police state, and Heydrich was one of its chief architects. Heydrich's role in anti-Jewish policy became unmistakable during Kristallnacht, the pogrom beginning on November 9, 1938. That night, synagogues burned across Germany and Nazi-controlled territories, Jewish businesses were destroyed, and tens of thousands of Jews were arrested. While the violence was carried out by SA men, SS units and civilians, Heydrich coordinated the police response from above. He issued detailed instructions to police. Do not interfere with the destruction. Protect non-Jewish property. Arrest as many Jewish men as possible. The goal was not chaos, but intimidation, dispossession, and forced emigration. Kristallnacht marked a turning point. Anti-Jewish policy moved from legal discrimination to open, state-directed violence. Heydrich had helped make terror an official tool of government. Heydrich's personality set him apart. Colleagues described him as cold and controlled, brilliant but arrogant, impatient with weakness. He demanded absolute loyalty and efficiency. He worked long hours, expected the same of subordinates, and tolerated no dissent. Yet he also cultivated an image: a skilled fencer, an excellent yachtsman, a cultured violinist in SS uniform. Hitler admired him and reported to have called him the man with the iron heart. Behind the polished exterior was ruthless ambition. Heydrich was only in his mid-30s and already among the most powerful men in the Reich. Heydrich's rise depended heavily on Heinrich Himmler, who saw in him the ruthless intelligence he lacked himself. Himmler provided patronage. Heydrich delivered results. Their relationship, however, was uneasy. Himmler was mystical, ideological, and obsessed with racial purity. Heydrich, by contrast, was more pragmatic and power-focused, pursuing Nazi goals with ruthless efficiency. Hitler, meanwhile, admired Heydrich's effectiveness. He trusted him with the regime's dirtiest work, from purges to repression to genocide. Yet Heydrich's growing influence made others nervous. Göring, Goebbels, and even Himmler sometimes viewed him as a rival. There were whispers that Heydrich might one day outgrow his patron. In the brutal hierarchy of the Third Reich, Heydrich was not just a servant, he was a contender. When Germany invaded Poland in 1939, Heydrich's influence went international. He now oversaw security in occupied territories. He organized the Einsatzgruppen, mobile SS and police units tasked with eliminating enemies of the Reich behind the front lines. Initially targeting Polish elites and Jewish communities, they later became instruments of mass murder on an even larger scale in the Soviet territories. Heydrich's orders emphasized speed, secrecy, absolute obedience. When Germany invaded the Soviet Union in June 1941, Einsatzgruppen followed the army east. Their reports detailed mass shootings of Jewish communities. Heydrich received these reports, issued further directives, and pressed for greater coordination and efficiency. This was not chaos. It was organized terror. In 1939, Heydrich became head of the Reich Main Security Office, RSHA, a massive organization combining the Gestapo, criminal police, Kripo, and the SD intelligence service. It placed nearly all political policing and intelligence under his command. Heydrich now sat at the nerve center of the Nazi terror state. He turned persecution into paperwork, arrest into procedure, murder into reports. His genius and his horror lay in making brutality administrative. By late 1941, Nazi policy toward Jews had shifted decisively towards systematic annihilation. Heydrich had been tasked by Hermann Göring to prepare and coordinate an overall solution to the Jewish question. On January 20th, 1942, he convened senior officials at a villa in Berlin's suburb of Wannsee. The meeting, lasting about 90 minutes, discussed the logistics of deporting Europe's Jews to the east for what was euphemistically called special treatment. Heydrich chaired the meeting with authority. The tone was bureaucratic, the language coded, but the purpose was clear: to organize genocide. The Wannsee Protocol did not invent the Holocaust, but it coordinated it, showing Heydrich's role in aligning state agencies behind a single murderous goal. He was only 37 years old. In September 1941, Hitler appointed Heydrich as Deputy Reich Protector of Bohemia and Moravia, the occupied Czech lands. In Prague, Heydrich lived in a confiscated castle outside the city, commuting daily in his open Mercedes, a sign of both arrogance and confidence. Resistance activity worried Berlin, and Heydrich delivered a strong hand. He believed fear alone could not sustain control. His approach blended targeted terror against resistance leaders, efforts to project an image of firm but fair rule, material rewards such as improved rations for cooperative workers. Factories were pushed to exceed production quotas. Czech workers were told they could earn security through obedience. Behind the scenes, however, the Gestapo dismantled resistance networks. Arrests and executions continued quietly but relentlessly. Heydrich's success in stabilizing the region only reinforced his reputation as the Reich's most capable enforcer. His strategy was chillingly calculated: terror for the few, stability for the many. Czechs soon called him the Butcher of Prague. Yet from Berlin's perspective, he was a success. The Czech government in exile in London, with British support, approved a daring mission: assassinate Heydrich. Two trained agents, Josef Gabčík and Jan Kubiš, parachuted into occupied territory east of Prague. After months of preparation, they struck on May 27, 1942, as Heydrich rode in his open-top Mercedes through Prague. Gabčík's gun jammed, and Kubiš threw a modified grenade that exploded beside the car. Heydrich was seriously wounded and, after initially stabilizing, developed a fatal infection. He died on June 4, 1942. He was 38 years old. The highest-ranking Nazi official assassinated during the war was gone. Hitler was furious. The Nazi response was merciless. Entire villages suspected of aiding resistance were destroyed. Lidice became the most infamous symbol, and the village itself erased. Thousands were arrested, and more than 1,000 were killed. The assassination removed Heydrich, but it unleashed brutal vengeance. Heydrich received a state funeral in Berlin. Hitler attended. Himmler wept. He was hailed as a fallen hero of the Reich. Himmler assumed many of his duties, but no one quite replaced him. Even among Nazi leaders, Heydrich had been feared. Some historians believe that had he lived, Heydrich might have risen even higher, perhaps even challenging Himmler or others for supreme power within the SS. What made Heydrich especially chilling was not emotional outbursts, but calculated detachment. He was less known for fiery speeches than for memos, charts, and meetings. He turned ideology into systems and hatred into routine administration. He represented a modern kind of evil, one that hides behind efficiency. After the war, evidence of Heydrich's role emerged in captured documents and testimonies. His name appeared repeatedly in Einsatzgruppen reports, Gestapo files, and the Wannsee Protocol. At Nuremberg, Heydrich was already dead, but the institutions he built stood trial. Historians have since debated what made him so dangerous. Some emphasize ideology, others point to ambition, but most agree that Heydrich showed how modern states could turn murder into administration. From a gifted musician to master of terror, from naval officer to architect of genocide, from obscurity to the center of Nazi power. He did not live to see Germany's defeat, but his systems helped carry the Holocaust to its darkest depths.